Screen is visible now. Shall we proceed? Hello? Okay. Okay, then please try to keep the session interactive, okay? So that I will understand whether you are following or not. So yesterday we were discussing about, we have started discussing about methods, right? So we have understood how to call, okay? What are the syntax, okay? Syntax wise, we know now what is a method syntax. So you have access modifiers, you have return type, you have method name, your parameter list, followed by a kind of optional thing which is called as throws exception and the return keyword, right? And after that, to transfer the control or to invoke the method, so we have to create an object, right? We have understood how to create an object and how to transfer the control, right? And again, today we are going to discuss something, a different thing, okay? In how many ways the methods in Java can be built? If this is the question, in how many ways the methods in Java could be built? The answer is what? There are four ways to build a Java method. There are four ways to build a Java. So whenever you are, if whenever you want to create a Java method, you can use the first way, which is what, which says you can use no return type and no argument methods. No argument methods. Okay, and the second way is you can use the return type, okay, and arguments method. The third way is you can use return type and no arguments method. Okay, the last type is no return type, right, and arguments method. Let us understand each and everything in detail. Okay? First of all, let's try to understand what does it mean, no return type and no argument method. Right? So in the basically, when you are declaring a Java method, so we know the common syntax. When I say common syntax, the syntax which is the mandatory things. Okay, you use what? You use the return type, right? So there is a return type you will be using, followed by the method name. So this is the typical syntax for the Java method name. And if you see, you have something like the opening and the closing parenthesis, simple brackets. So this is a kind of what? This is a kind of thing where you will pass the arguments. So this is used to pass an argument. So when you keep this empty, so when you keep this space empty, and you're not passing any arguments, right? And also if you are ensuring that the return type of the method is void. When the return type of the method is void, and if you are not passing any arguments, which means what? No arguments. You're not passing any arguments. These arguments can be like anything. You can pass integer, you can pass float, data type. We will see that in the next topics. These arguments can be anything, but if you keep this empty, if you're not including any arguments in this space, okay, the method becomes the no return type and no argument method. So I can conclude that the above method is what? The above method is the no return type and no argument. So by looking at this, I should be in a position to say the above method is called as no return type and no argument method. Why no return type? So if whenever the return type is void, it is called as the no return type method. Whenever the return type is taken as void, it is called as no return type method. Okay. So let me take this example, and if you want to design such methods, right? So this is how you can decide. So you can have the return type as void. The first thing you have to remember is return type is void. Okay, followed by the method name can be anything. Let us take the method name as testing. right? And if you see, you are keeping this parenthesis, okay, you are not passing any arguments here, right? And also keeping the return keyword is an optional if the return type is what. You can either keep the return keyword, is an optional. If you do not keep also, no issues. But by looking at this method, I can simply understand how I can understand what type of method is this by looking at the return type and by looking at the argument. I should be in a position to say, oh, this method is what, this method is the no or no return type and no argument method. No return type and no argument method. Okay. So whenever you want to call this method, the calling functionalities is same like before. Okay, we have to create an object to transfer the control to the method. So the method will be called. So calling wise, there will be no difference, right? If you want to invoke this method, you have to create an object. That is the thing that we have to understand. But when you want to define this, this is how you will define. You would say that this is a no return type and no argument method. This is the first thing. Okay. Likewise, we have three more methods. Second method is what? Return type and arguments. Focus here, there will be some methods where you will be accepting some arguments in the parenthesis. When I say return type, okay, method name can be, let me show the syntax. You can pass the parameter list here. Okay, this parameter list can accept different kinds of data. Okay, so this is the parameter list. Parameter list. Okay, depending upon the requirement, it can accept different kind of inputs here. So this is this parameter list. Okay, this space is used to accept some inputs, and the return type should be something other than what? Other than void. Should be something other than void. And if it is something other than void, you should always return the exact value, exact data type value, right? Okay, I can say that the above method is called as the return type and arguments method because it is going to accept some arguments. Whenever the if the return, whenever the return keyword is taken other than void, is called as return type method. Okay, now look at this. Let me convert this. Okay. Now you can use what? Return type has to be anything. Let me take the return type as integer for the example. Okay, and I want to return some value, right? Since the return type is integer here, I want to return the exact value. I am taking it as 100. If you see the parameter list, you can pass any argument. So arguments can be like integer a comma integer b. Arguments can be like integer a comma, and for the simplicity, I am keeping the arguments like integer a comma b. Right? And inside this, I want to design a code in such a way that instead of returning 100, I would just return a plus b. I would just return a plus b. What is happening behind the scenes? What is happening behind the scenes? When I do this, it is just like a method has been built. Okay, I can call this method as the return type and arguments method. The method which has the return type as well as argument is called as what? Return type and the arguments method. Arguments method. Whenever you are sending a request to this method, right? For example, if you are writing this method has to be assumed like a block. Okay, it is going to accept what? This method is going to accept two inputs. So one input is what? You will transfer the data to the variable a to the variable a. Okay, there will be variable a, there will be variable b, right? So instead of doing like this, okay, this method is going to accept two inputs. Okay, inside this you will be having a logic like, okay, a plus b, that is going to get returned, a plus b, right? And this value is going to get returned. So the moment if you pass numbers like 5, or the moment if you pass number like 5 comma 6, 5 and 6, okay, this 5 and 6 will be what? This 5 and 6 is going to go through the arithmetic operation, which is what? 5 plus 6. 5 plus 6, which is going to be what? 11. Okay, this 11 will be returned. Output is going to be 11. The idea is, whenever you are using the method with the return type as well as arguments, these arguments are going to accept a kind of input values. You pass inputs in the arguments, in these arguments, in the form of a variable and the b variable. It can be anything. In this case, it is going to accept two integer values. One of the integer value is 5 and second integer value is 6. When you're sending the request, when you're transferring the control, okay, it is going to accept two integer values, and you're writing the logic in such a way that it is returning what the arithmetic operation of the two inputs, a plus b. Arithmetic operation will be performed, and this is going to return a value like 11. Right? You pass inputs and you get the value, you get the returned value. This is called as what? A method with return, the method with return type, and the method with what? Arguments. You pass inputs in the arguments place, the parameter list place, and this input gets manipulated inside, and it is going to give an output as per the requirement. That output will be captured in the form of return value. Let us understand this programmatically. For example, if I want to design a method, let me remove all this. Okay? Let me remove this also. I am trying to design a method with return type and the arguments. Return type, the arguments method. Okay, my requirement is like my client has approached me. Client is saying, "Hey Balaji, please design a method." So that method should accept two integer values. That method should accept what? Two integer values. Two integer values. Whatever the value that is accepting, just return the summation of the two integer values. Return the what? Return the summation of sum of two integer values. Sum of two integer inputs. This is a requirement. Based upon this requirement, I need to design a method. What is the requirement? They want to accept what? Integer values. Okay, two integer values it has accepting two integer values. Accepting two integer values. So to accept these values, I will be using the parameter. Okay, I will accept the values in the form of A, form of B. You can give any name. In my case, since it is accepting two integer values, I am taking two integer data type, and I am using the variable names as A and B as per my convenience. You can give any name, but the data type has to be integer, right? So this is the parameter list. So the things that you are accepting will be declared in the parameter list, right? Followed by, okay, it has to return the sum of two integer inputs. Okay, the return type has to be what? Integer, and you have to define your own method name. Let me take it as addition is the method. Okay, so when you design a method, there should be a body, isn't it? This is the body of the method. So what it has to return the sum of two integer inputs. So this is the input 1, this is the input 2. You will be returning the sum. Return A plus B. A plus. So based upon the client requirement, you are able to design a method. This method can be defined as a method which has the return type and which has the parameter list. Right, so method has been designed successfully. How do we call this method? How can we call this method? We have understood, right? Whenever you have a method, you want to call that method. Okay, the execution always starts from the main method. Right? From the main method, you have to find a way to transfer the control to the user defined method. So for that, object creation is mandatory. A equal to new A. The objects get created. Now see what I am doing. With the help of this reference variable A, I am calling the method name. What is the method name? Addition. Addition is the method name. Okay, but this method is accepting two arguments. One is integer type, second one is also integer type. So you have to pass two arguments where you want to find the summation of two inputs. Arguments can be in the form of integer. You can pass 10, 10. You pass 10, 10, right? No. This 10 will be collected by this variable A, and this 10 will be collected by this variable B, right? Both is going to go through the arithmetic operation, and this 20 will be returned. This 20 will be returned, but you are not storing that 20 in any variable. Okay, this 20 will be floating somewhere in the memory location. So you are using a variable to store that. Okay, let me take that. Store is a variable. Right, after this you just want to print this in the console. System dot out dot print. Okay, store. Just try to print this. Okay, because of this, what is happening behind the scenes? Okay, let me run this code. Java C space a.java Java space. So output is 20. Why 20? We are passing two tens. If I pass 100, 10, okay, 100 is the first integer, 10 is the second integer. Now output has to be what? 110. 110. Right? Now if you see, the only idea here is you are passing, this method is accepting some inputs which is declared in the parameter list. Okay. So likewise, whenever you are calling the addition method, along with the addition method, you have to pass values. Why you are passing two values here? Because the addition method is accepting two integers. Are you getting this, everyone? Do you want me to trace this? Hello? Yes, no?
Can I explain once again?
Yeah. Let me trace this. Okay, let me trace this. Sudhir, yesterday you were not there, no, in the class?
No, sir.
Who is asked this to explain? Balaji, yeah?
I'm only.
Okay, okay, okay. Sudhir, nothing, very easy only, Sudhir. I just try to follow it. I have explained these things yesterday. I will repeat this once again for others also. They may see as soon as you start executing, the main thread gets created. Main thread gets access to the main method. Okay, and the first instruction is object creation, right? So a equal to new a. So this is syntax for creating an object. You will be using the class name followed by the user defined variable and new keyword followed by the a comma this opening and closing parenthesis. Because of this, an object gets created. It is going to get a reference variable name which is a itself. Okay. And also there will be a stack area created. Stack area will be created to store the references for the methods. Okay, so only one method we have the addition method. Addition method which is accepting two values of integer type, integer comma integer. Right, after the object creation, okay, and this is also going to share the same reference. Okay, this stack is also going to share the same reference. Now the second thing is, okay, you are doing what? You are just look at the right hand side. By using the reference variable which is a, you are calling the addition method, which means now the control will understand that, okay, addition method needs to be called. Along with the control, it will also consider 100 first value and the second value 10. Okay, these values will be taken transmitted to the addition method because we are calling the addition method. This 100 gets settled on integer a and this 10 gets settled on integer b, right? And as soon as it starts executing the user defined method, what you are doing what? A plus b, in our case it is what? 100 plus 10, which is 110. Okay, 110 is being returned by this method, so there is a return keyword, which means after the manipulation this value will be returned and it will be transferred back. Okay, control is giving the values. After the execution it is transmitting back. Okay, and this 110 is getting stored in what? Now it is getting stored in a new variable called store variable. There is a variable called store because that is what we have given, right? Store variable. Right, after this you are just trying to do what? You are just trying to access that store variable which is 110. That's why 110 is displayed on the console. Are you getting this, everyone?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, so this is what happening. Okay, so now, so this is what is all about what? This is what about the method with return type and arguments. Okay, the next thing is what? We have method like return type and no arguments. So there will be some cases where you will be designing. There are some cases where you will not take any arguments, but you have to return something. Example, okay, I can simply say a return type method name. Okay. So no arguments means I will not accepting any argument. The method will not accept any inputs. Okay, but it has to return some value. Return some value. Okay, I can say that the above method is return type and no argument methods. Okay, it will not accept any inputs, but it will return a value. To understand this, let me build another example. Okay, now let us go back to the same thing. Okay, so if I just remove this is not accepting any values. Okay, and instead of doing that, if I just hard code this, okay, if I just do something like a kind of hard code, integer a equal to 10, integer b equal to 20, right? And if you look at this method, by looking at this method, and we are able to say that, okay, this is a method which is accepting the return type, but it is not accepting the arguments. But if I invoke this method now, I will be getting the same answer, but you are not passing any values here. It's not going to accept any input. Okay, the behavior of this method is going to be like this, guys. You want to imagine this, okay, if you want this method, okay, if you want to invoke this method, it will not accept, okay, you will just invoke this, okay, but it will return something, but you will not pass any values as the inputs. Just invoke this, it will return something. What it will return? Summation of two numbers in our example. So 30 will be returned to you. 30 will be returned. You can collect this, and if you want, you can display it to the console, or you can store it somewhere for the future purposes. No inputs but output. In this case, it is not accepting any input. Inputs will always be accepted in the parameter list. This parameter. This is not accepting any input. That's why no parameter. That's why it is called as what? The return, the method with return type and no arguments. And if I execute this code, the answer is going to be what? 30 only. Java C space 8 or Java space 30. Okay. And the last method is what? Last type is, we have something like no return type and arguments method. Fourth type, no return type and arguments method. When I say no return type, it should be void. When I say arguments, okay, let me take the name of the method as void method name. Can have some parameter list. Parameter list. It will not return anything. Okay, you will just keep the return keyword, and you will just terminate this with the semicolon. That's it. Okay, return type is void, which is also called as no return type, and arguments. Okay, you pass some arguments here. Example, the same thing, same method I can convert. Let me take it as void. Okay, I will be passing arguments. I can pass any number of arguments. If I pass integer a, integer b, integer c. So this method is accepting 3 arguments here. So 3 inputs are accepted, but it will not return anything. It will not return anything. So you should design in such a way that if it is void, you should keep the return as empty. Okay, return should be terminated directly without any value. Or else, if you want, you can remove this also, optional. Right? And what you can do, you can just do what? System.out.println. You can just say a plus b plus c, which will be displayed directly in the console. Making sense? Now tell me the output. If I try to execute this, now tell me the output. 1, 1, 1. Okay. What will be the output? Everyone?
3.
3 is the output, right? Good. The 3 is the output. Like this, you can invoke this method many number of times. Okay. Second time you can pass 3 other some values. Third time you can pass some some random values you can pass. Okay. You can keep executing the method over and over again. The only thing is this method is accepting some inputs, but it is not returning anything. So don't think that since it is getting displayed in the console, it is returning some. It is not like that. These things are happening in the console level. Something is getting displayed in the console. That's it. It's not like when you invoke this method, it's returning, it is giving you something. Example, let us try to imagine this. For a few days, there will be a confusion between the system.out.println and the return keyword. Okay, so when I take this as an example, the execution starts from the main method. Okay, and the moment it starts calling the addition method, it's going to consider these 3 values 1, 1, 1. Right? this 111 will be collected and transmitted to the respective method. Okay? This 111 will be placed on the respective variables. Okay? A1, B1, C1, right? And it is just executing that. It's not collecting it back. It's just executing that and it is coming back. Okay? These values are getting displayed to the control. So the control is not collecting that. So again, the data is not getting transmitted back. The control. In the previous case, when you use return keyword, this is going to collect this and it is going to submit it to the respective call. But here it is not happening. Just values are getting displayed in the console. After displaying this, the next line is what? 131, right? So 131 will be collected, okay, and this will be given to the respective variables, right? Instead of this is, let me remove this 131, okay? And this will get the arithmetic operation, and the value will be printed in the console. Value is going to be back, right? So these are all about, only there are 4 types of method, and we have completed discussing. Okay, right? So now, okay, after completing this, okay, we have to start discussing about something like we have a method called the static methods are there. Okay, after completing the static method, we are good to go for object creation. Static methods in Java. So there is a lot of difference between a static method and non-static method. So static method is like, okay, it is a kind of method which is part of what they call it as, it is a part of the class. Or else I can say that those static methods are something like which is a part of the object of the class. Static methods are the part of objects of the class or instance of the class. Sorry, static methods are part of method area rather than the objects of the class or instance of this class. I will give you the justification for this. First of all, let us discuss about the syntax. The syntax says any method that is declared with a static keyword. Any method that is declared with a static keyword is called as what? Static method. For example, we have seen these examples, right? So if I just look at this method, I can say this method as non-static method. Why non-static? Because we are not using the static keyword. The moment I start using the static keyword, okay, when you try to invoke it, there is another way to call this method. But I can also say that this method is a static method because you're using the static keyword. When you remove the static keyword, it becomes a non-static method. Very simple. It can be said like any method that is that is preceded with a static keyword, or also I can say that any method that is declared with the static keyword called as what? Called as static method. Okay. Any method that is not declared with static keyword. Okay. Any method that is not declared the static keyword, they are called as non-static method, you can call, okay, or concrete method, you can call concrete methods. Okay, these are just the keywords that you should get acquainted with. Okay, when I say static method, it will be having the static keyword. The syntax is going to be like static keyword you will be having, followed by the return type, return underscore type, followed by the method name. Okay, and the exactly all the optional things you have. Okay, you have the optional things like the access modifier are optional, For now, it is not necessary. And you have optional things like parameter list. Okay, and you have optional list like what throws exception. Throws exception. Everything will be same. Okay, return value will also be there. Okay. Only the thing that you're including is you're using the static keyword. Whenever you're using the static keyword, that becomes what? That becomes the static method. Okay. The one main point is what is an advantage of static method? The main advantage of static method is object creation is not required. Static method is that object creation is not mandatory. Okay, to invoke to call any static methods, okay, you will be using the following syntax. So the syntax is like, okay, class name dot static method name. Okay. That's it. Class name followed by the static method name. Right? Let us understand this. Okay. Let me convert this method to static. Just by placing the static keyword. Okay. Now this method has become static method. I do not want to do all these things. Object creation is not mandatory. Let me remove this. Okay. Without object creation, how can I call this method? Okay. The syntax says use the class name dot use the method name. If it is accepting arguments, pass the arguments also. Right? So what is the name of the class? The static method is contained, it's encapsulated inside the class here. Use the class name dot what? Call the method, which is what? Addition. Name of the method is what? The addition method is accepting how many arguments here? 3 arguments. Pass any 3 integers. That's it. Java C space a dot Java space a. We're getting the same output. Have we created any object here? So no object creation is required, right? I'm able to call this method because this is a static method. So object creation is not mandatory. But if it is not mandatory, can I also try creating an object and call this method? That is also possible. If you are okay to create object, you can create. That is also fine. You can create an object and you can call that method. That is also completely okay. That is also completely acceptable. Okay. So the advantage of static method is that you can either call it without object creation. If you want, you can create object, you can call that also. There are some cases why we will be using the static methods. Okay, this topic of discussion will come in the future memory allocation class, future JVM class. You will understand this better. See, both are accepted. If you want, you can create object, static method. If you do not want, you can leave. Okay, you can just remove this. But for non-static method, okay, whenever there is a method like non-static method, object creation is mandatory. So let's say non-static. Now this is the non-static method. Right? Let me take it as something like add. Name of the method is add. This is non-static method. Okay, and this is static method. Right? So to call this method, I cannot call a non-static method just by using this syntax. Okay, what is the syntax? A dot add. I cannot just call the non-static method just by using the class name 1 comma 1 comma. If I do this, I will get an error. Java C space a dot Java C. Non-static method add cannot be referenced from a static context. Okay, what does it really mean? It says you are using the main method. Okay, main method is also of static type. If you want to call another static method, you can call directly without creating an object. But if you are trying to call a non-static method, is this one. Object creation is mandatory. Okay. I can say that if I give these 2 methods, if I just give these 2 methods, I can simply say that the static method. Okay, I can say some lines. Object creation is not required. Call a static method. Okay. The method can be called or invoked just by using the class name where the method is encapsulated or where the method is placed. Okay, the syntax says okay, class, use the class name, a dot operator followed by dot method. So this is a syntax. Okay. Note, the point to be noted is, okay, please be informed that you can also use the reference variable of an object to call the non-static method. So, to call the static method. So you can also use the object creation. You can also create an object and call, but that is not necessary. The advantage of using the static method is object creation is not required. Okay. And when you discuss about non-static method, this is the non-static method. Why non-static method? You are not using the static keyword. Okay. So the below that is non-static method. Since you are not studying science, it requires object creation. Object creation. First, the object creation is mandatory. It is not suggestion. It is a mandatory. The method can be accessed only with the object reference variable. Okay. Third one is syntax to create an object. Okay. Is it class name, reference variable, so new. Okay. By using this reference variable, you will be able to access the reference table dot respective method. That respective method will be called. Okay. Note, you can't invoke you can't call or non-static method by using class name. Okay. So this is all about what? This is all about methods. So methods are of how many type? There are 4 ways to build a method. We have discussed about the ways, and also we have discussed about the static method, and also we have discussed about the exact difference between the static and the non-static method. So now I will ask you some questions. Try to answer. Just try to tell me if it is possible or not possible, or if it is valid or invalid. Okay. Now when I say that, okay, the method is static, void add, name of the method is add. Okay, and I am, tell me what kind of method is this? When I ask you what kind of method, you can answer static or non-static.
Static.
Is it valid or invalid? Second question. This is valid or invalid. Always remember, don't think much. Okay, just see the return type. Return type is void. No, void means you should not return any value. You are returning 100. It is not acceptable. Void means you are not supposed to return anything. So this is invalid. Okay, next question. So when I say something like, okay, integer, static integer is subtraction. Okay, I am saying what? Then 100. What kind of method is this? Tell me.
Static.
Valid or invalid?
Valid.
Valid, because the return type is there and also return value is there. Matching. Both are matching. Just try if they are matching. If it is matching, it is correct. Valid. You know, the third question is, okay, static, okay, double. Okay, let me do this. Static integer. Let me take name of the method as test. Okay. Character A. Okay, I'm saying a equal to. Okay, I do not want to confuse you on this. So we will develop in the complexity later. I just want to return something like return A. Interview question. Now tell me valid or invalid. You can tell me. Tell me what kind of method is this first of all.
Valid.
Okay, is it, what about the validation? Is it valid or not valid? You might be confusing. Okay, there is a kind of confusion here. Okay, you might be thinking, so whether you should say valid, because see, you are using the integer type here, right? But you are returning the character, so you must be thinking the actual return type is of integer type. Okay, but you are returning the value which is of character type. It's of character type, right? So it is just like this. There is there is a kind of mismatch, isn't it? There is a complete mismatch. But if you remember the promotion chart, if you remember or not, I said byte can be promoted to short can be promoted to int can be promoted to long can be promoted to float, and float can be promoted to double, and also character can be promoted to what? Character type can be promoted to integer. Do you remember this or not? Promotion chart. Hello?
Yes, sir.
You remember this promotion chart? According to the promotion chart, if you go by the promotion chart, definitely it should be valid. Promotion, 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 okay, promotion, promotion. Okay. And if you see this promotion, this character is a data which is also capable enough to, qualified enough to store in the integer type also. Can we do this? Okay, let me understand this. See, let me remove all this. What if I do this? If integer a equal to, just think this is a value, okay, and look at the data type. Okay, this is the return type, data type, integer. This is valid or invalid?
Valid.
Valid only, no?
Valid.
Valid only, because you can store the character to the integer data type. Possible, no? Java C space a dot Java space a. But the output will be written in the form of number, because the typecasting is happening. Right? Compiler is doing what? Compiler is doing the implicit typecasting here. We have discussed about the typecasting. I have told you on the same day that this typecasting concept will be discussed over and over again in the future topics. This is one of the places. Right? So by looking at the promotion chart, you should be able to. Okay, let us take the same example here. So what I was saying, I'm taking the data type as integer. The method is static method, integer data type. Let me take the name of the method as test method. Okay, I want to return what? I want to return something that is not the integer. Okay, something like a I am returning it. Okay, if I want to call this method, this is a static method, isn't it? I can just use the class name, which is a itself, or I can use the method name, which is what? Which is test itself. Test itself. Okay, so this test method is return type is for integer. So I am using another integer here. I'm using my own variable name. Like it can be anything like ABC. I'm using. Okay, now I am printing system dot out dot println okay, ABC. Execute this code. That should not be enough. You are getting 60. Is valid. Now Same concept, same logic. So I'm taking a data type like, for example, let me take double here. Now tell me valid or invalid.
Valid.
Valid. Remember, okay. Don't get any confusion. Just look at the promotion chart. Look at the promotion chart. So in the top you use a double, right? And in the bottom the value is what? Value is what? A. And A is a character. This character you are trying to promote this character to the double. According to the promotion chart, okay, character is here. Character can be promoted to int, and then long, and then float, and then double. This is the highest place. This is highest data type. This is the smallest one, isn't it? Comparatively, this is the smallest one. Then float, long, and int, right? So it can be promotion wise, it is possible, right? So that is why it is valid. There will be a lot of places in the application development. What is it? Okay, so this is something, yeah. This is not the need to catch it by using double. Is it double? No, that's why I am supposed to change this to double. That is not an issue related to my explanation. Okay, 65.5. Making sense. Likewise, if I take a value, if I am returning something like 100.00, yeah, valid or invalid. Now you can answer this very easily.
Valid.
Valid, because float is of lower data type and double is of higher data type. Valid. Valid. For example, if I am saying something like true, valid or invalid?
Invalid, sir.
Invalid. Why invalid? True will not
True is
participate.
not invalid.
Yeah, correct. True will never participate in what? True will never participate in the promotion chart. True is a standalone. Okay, you fight whatever you want. Let me leave alone. Okay, I will be true in the sense when I am saying true means Boolean values. Boolean value. Boolean will never participate in the promotion chart. They are standalone. Okay, what if I do something like see guys? Now I'm saying I'm taking I'm taking the byte here, right? And I am doing something like 190. Now just tell me, is it valid or invalid? First of all, tell me.
Invalid.
Because
Invalid.
you know why it is invalid. Why it is invalid? The range is out of the range, right? Not within the range. But I want to make it valid. Can anyone help me with that? I want to make a small change so that I will not get any compilation. If I run this code, definitely we will face the compatibility issues. I want to make it valid. We have discussed this in the typecasting concept. Explicit typecasting, correct. Explicitly, I can convert this value to the equivalent data type, which is what? Byte data type. Okay. The moment you find the value is higher than the return type, okay, 190 is higher than the actual return type, right? Convert that to the equivalent return type so that you will not find any issues. You're not getting anything output because but there will be some data loss. Okay, if I try to call this method, okay, system dot out dot println, and so this is returning something, isn't it? Okay, I can just directly call a dot test. Run this code. -60. There will be data loss. We have seen about the data loss in the previous session, but compilation point of view, there will be no issues. Right? The moment I try to change this to something like, for example, if I try to change this to double, right, and I can keep a value like something like 100. Tell me valid or invalid. Okay, don't get any confused. Let me take long here. Tell me valid or invalid. What it says, integer number is too large. Okay, so whenever you're using a long data type, you have to inform the compiler, so the compiler understand that this value is not of integer type. Okay, it is going out of the integer range. Need to declare the earlier. Getting this point? Just look at the range. So range is getting exceeded. It's not falling within the integer range. Okay, you need to convert this to long first. You need to use the suffix L here. If you're not interested to use suffix, right? What you can do explicitly, you can explicitly convert the, this will be treated as what? This will be treated as integer one. Hello? This is applicable. Any confusion here? See guys, this is will be treated as integer only. Right? So you need to convert this to long here. When you are using a long data type, always make sure that you are suffixing with the L. Right? But it will not give you any issues if you are passing the smaller value like this. Okay, this 100 is within the range. By default, I said no, every number will be treated as integer by default, right? And also the default thing, okay, it cannot exceed to the particular integer. It cannot exceed the integer range. Once it is exceeding the integer range, you have to inform the in such a way that this is no more integer. This has to be long. Making sense? This is one area where you have to focus. Right? Blindly, if it is long, use L here, suffix it with L here. Okay? If not, you can follow the normal procedure. Right? Now another question. For example, let me take I have class. I am taking multiple classes now. I have class A. Okay, and I have another class. Okay, let me take class B. Okay, my A class has a method like void add method. Okay, and system dot out dot println. Okay, and let me say A method or add method of class A. Add method of class A. Okay, and my class B has another method, sub method of class B. Sub method of class. Right? Now you see, now we are working with two different classes. So previously we have been discussing only dealing with only one class. Now I have taken two classes. Class B I have taken as well as class A I have taken. Inside the class, now tell me how many methods are there in the class A. Come on, tell me. Make it quick. How many methods are there in class A?
One method.
No. Two methods. You should include main method also. Right? How many methods are in class B? One method. So main method is also a method. Okay, always treat this as a method, but it has a lot of importance. Why? Because all the instructions will get executed from the main method. Now we have two methods. If I want to invoke the method of class A, I want to invoke this method. Now tell me what kind of method is this? Static or non-static?
Non-static.
Non-static means what we are supposed to do. We are supposed to create an object. Yes or no? So always remember this method is part of class A. You will create object for class A, right? So that with this reference variable you are okay to access this method. I can say A dot add because this A is part of class A. Okay, it means addition is this add method will be recognized inside this reference variable here. You are allowed to call the A method. So this is possible. So when I run this, okay, always ensure that the method that you are calling upon should be within the class. The moment I do the opposite, for example, by using this reference variable, if I try to call the sub method, do you think that this will work? Hello? According to logically, it should not work, isn't it? Why it should not work? It's not identified. It will not find the symbol. What it says cannot find symbol. What does it really mean? You have taken the reference variable A. A is of the class A type. Inside the class A, I am not identifying the sub method. Right? So if you want to deal with the methods that are parts of different classes, you have to create objects for those respective classes. I want to deal with sub method. I want to call sub method, which is part of class B. I will be creating an object for class B. B equal to new B. Right? Now in this way, by using A reference variable, H of A type, I can call all the methods. I can do what? I can call all the, okay, a dot add. With the b reference variable, I can call all the methods that is inside the class b dot sum. Java C space a dot Java. Getting this? So now we have discussed about the primitive data types. I will also explain about the class type, class return type. When I say class level return type, let me remove this. So we know there are 8 primitive types. So now we will deal with the class type. Class type means the return type is string. I'm taking string as a return type. Okay, when you take string as a return type, let us see this example. String. Okay, let me say a here. Okay, return. Welcome to Java. If you get locked out of the meeting room, please rejoin. This explanation is very, most of the time you will be using this kind of examples in a real-time application. Please rejoin. Okay, let me say something like that. Now what would be the output when I execute this code? Anyone think and tell me? Okay, just try to.
Balaji, welcome to.
Are you sure?
Balaji, welcome to.
Let us execute this. Java C space error Java. Output is blank. Why output is blank? So you are not catching the returned value first of all, and you are not printing it. Okay, what is happening behind the scenes? Now, if you want to understand this, this looks little bit kind of the confusing things. Okay, now you see, right? So main thread. Now just try to understand about this method declaration. If I ask you what is the return type of this method, okay, the return type of this method is what? String type, right? Identified. And the second question I can ask you is what is the returned value? Return value is also should be also be what? String. Return value is string. Resource. Okay, what kind of method is this? We have discussed about the 4 types of method. This method is of what type? Return type and arguments method. Return type and arguments method. Okay, which has the return type as string type. Okay, string is not the primitive type, it is the class type, which means it is going to store the sequence of characters and it is accepting the string as an argument. When you hit this method, it will take one input. Yeah, thank you for rejoining. So when you say, okay, when you have a method like the name of the method is what? Welcome method, isn't it? Okay, the name of the method is something like welcome method. Okay, guys. Yeah. The method name is welcome. Okay, and if you see the design of this method, it is accepting one input. It's accepting one input. The input has to be in the form of what? String. It is accepting a string type. And it is returning another string. After performing manipulation, it is returning another string. So the input is accepted in the form of the string A. And you can pass any content in the A. In place of A, you pass Balaji. This Balaji will be manipulated in such a way that the Balaji gets concatenated with what? Welcome to Java classes. Welcome to Java classes, and this is going to be returned. Okay, this complete thing will be manipulated, and this complete string statement will be returned the moment you call this method. Right, you are passing an input accept. Okay, the method accepts input and method returns. With this method, it accepts input. Inputs are accepted where? Inputs are accepted in the argument. So this is where the inputs are accepted. Right. So what usually happens? Main thread gets created. Main thread gets access to the main method. The first instruction is a obj equal to new a, which means an object will be created and it's going to get a reference variable of a itself. Right. And also the stack area will be created. The stack area is going to track the methods. Okay. What is a method? We have welcome method. Welcome method, which is going to accept the string as an argument. Okay. And this is also going to get the same reference of what? A itself. Method. After this, okay, you are just calling this object, guys, not a, this is obj. Okay, by using this reference variable, okay, you are calling the welcome method. So this will check for the welcome method inside the same class. Okay, there is a welcome method which is accepting the string as Balaji. Okay, Balaji. This Balaji will be transferred. It is going to transmit the data Balaji, okay, to that respective method. Okay, and this Balaji gets concatenated, and after the concatenation, this is going to return the concatenated value, which is what? Balaji, welcome to Java classes. So you will get a string like what? Balaji, welcome to Java classes. Balaji, welcome to Java classes. Okay, but you're not storing this, right? You're just not storing it. Since you're not storing it, it will be floating somewhere in the memory. You need to find a way to store this. To store this, you need to assign a variable which is of string type. String welcome message wm equal to. After storing this, you can access this. When you, so what you have to do? You have to do what? You have to do string. Okay, give any meaningful reference variable name. Yes, wm equal to object dot welcome. System dot out dot println. Okay, wm. Now you see Balaji, welcome to Java class. If you want to modify this, I can keep some space. Okay, I can keep calling this method in different ways. Okay, if I try to pass another value instead of Balaji, if I pass something like Sudhir, you will get Sudhir, welcome to Java. Like this, for any requirement in the real-time applications, okay, you will have to place that requirements in the Java methods in such a way that you will accept, you will try to understand what kind of input that method has to take and what kind of output the method has to return. The logic will be written. So in this case, we have taken only single line. In the real-time application, there will be a lot of 20 to 30 lines of logics will be there. 20 to 30 lines of coding will be there, at least. Okay, based upon the record, you will do those codings and you will just try to understand the control flow. Apart from that, you will not do anything. Right? So these are very simple methods. Even though if you want to understand the complex method, the idea is what? The idea is same. The same thing you will approach. The same thing you will have the return type thing, the arguments thing, the same thing you're going to have. Additional thing that we will discussing, like what happens if you use public here. Okay, what happens if you if you take exceptions here. Okay, this will be covered in the future topics. For now, this is the idea, basic idea to how to design a Java. By this I can say that the topic of